Hi, this is Lisa with Queen Bee Creations. I'm an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator, and I'm here every Monday at 2:30 to give you sort of an online class. I do try to make it interactive, so if you would converse with me in the chat box and make comments, I would totally appreciate it. It helps me to know how I can help you more, and that's my job as a Stampin' Up demonstrator. I show you how to make these beautiful cards. I show you how you can purchase those items from my online store, and everybody's happy, which is a good thing. So today we're going to be working on a triple pop-up card. Have you guys seen this thing yet? I'm always asking for somebody to tell me what they want to learn how to make, and so this is one of the things I've been asked about, was how to create one of these. And so it folds up for mailing, but then it pops open for display. Oops, that's what we're working on today. So there we go, it's down on my desk. Let me show you that. There's my desk, and here's our pop-up card. So all ready to go together. Today's card is this pop-up, and this is what we're going to play with today. I've had some people tell me it's confusing, so I'm going to try to make it simple for you guys. That's always my goal, is to see that you know how to do these things, that they're easy. So I'm going to try to make this easy for you today. It would start out with a piece of cardstock that is 5 1/4 by 11 inch. And then we're going to score it at 2 5/8, 5 1/4, 7 7/8, and 10 1/2. Some of you that know me know that I do this card in a box idea all the time. I make tons of these. I sell them on Etsy. I send them to people. I love them. And basically, this is almost the same thing. This is 5 1/4 because we're given a little bit of extra room for the extra layers, but the score lines are all the same. So if you've made a card in a box or a corner card, you know how to make this one. I already have my scoreboard set up. The Simply Scored tool comes with these little pegs so you can mark out different measurements, and because I do the card in a box so frequently, that's where I leave mine. They're there all the time. So I just bring in my cardstock. Again, this is 5 1/4 by 11. And we're going to score at 2 5/8, 5 1/4, 7 7/8, 10 1/2. That's the main box, the taller one. We're going to take two pieces that are 2 9/16. Now don't freak. I know this is really close to 2 1/2. Just make it a little bigger than 2 1/2, because we don't want it quite 2 5/8 and not quite 2 3/8, just kind of in between. And that's because when they come together here, we want them to not bump into one another. So we're just looking for a tiny little gap in the middle that's going to keep them from bumping into each other and make sure they don't run off the edge. That's the only reason why I'm giving you a funky measurement. But then you're going to take it over to your scoreboard and you're going to do the same thing. We have two of these that are 2 9/16 by 11. And then we're going to score them at the same spots. So I'm going to lay these down on here, and we're going to score at 2 5/8, 5 1/4, 7 7/8, 10 1/2. Okay? Doesn't sound scary yet, right? You all follow me? Because there is a box, we usually do a little bit of wedging just to simplify things when we go to close it up. So I'm just taking a little teeny tiny wedge off the ends. Now that we have these two things, we've wedged our little corners, we want to do some scoring or burnishing. So we're going to take those score lines, we're going to take the valley and turn it into a mountain, and then we're going to do them all the same way. So I'm just folding over and burnishing. Now, if I had made a card in a box, we would have come down 3 inches and then these things would have folded over. But see, that's the same shape. Same thing. And then for a corner card, it's the same thing as well. We just put this together, and it even could be 4 1/4 total once we flatten it. But you could make a sentiment that would show up right here, you know, and it would just be up on little pegs like I'm going to show you with the other card. And then you just decorate the outside, and that's called a corner card. But we're going to add some additional things to our corner card, which is these 2 extra cubes. I want these to go together, and I want them to flatten out for mailing, right? So I'm going to take it and fold it flat like that, and then I'm going to adhere adhesive right here, and then close it. And I'm going to use Stampin' Seal Plus because it's got a bit stronger hold, and we want to make sure that we do get a good grip. If you can see that, it does come in little tiny flecks, and they're little strips, so that it does break off easier. But I'm just going to go ahead and close that up. Now you could choose to decorate the inside if you wanted before putting them together. It might be a little bit easier, but I want to make sure that you guys fully understand how we're getting the cubes together, because that seems to be the confusing part. Once you have all your cubes together, it's cake from there. So I have 3 cubes, right? Now all we have to do is figure out how they're going to go together. Now I usually find the little tab, and I'm going to put that up against here. So I only want this part to have adhesive. And I'm going to give it quite a bit because, again, you know, it is going to get a lot of movement. And then I'm going to take and put it flush with the bottom and centered between the edge and that score line. That's why it needed to be just that teensy bit smaller than what the width is. Okay, so there's one, and then I'm going to come over here and do the other one. So again, I'm going to find my little tab. I'm going to put lots of adhesive on this, and then I'm going to center it right here, flush with the bottom and centered between the 2. So that's it. That's the hard part. That's all there is to it. So now it's just decoration. I have 2 little pieces that are 3/4 by 1 3/8 scored at 7/8. These are going to be the little, let's see if I can fold this funky. There we go. See how there's that little L bracket that holds on the sentiment? There's one on either side of the sentiment. That's what allows it to, see, there's one, and there's the other. But that's what allows it to stand out this way. It's those 2 little L brackets in back. Oh yeah, totally. You can use this for all kinds of cards. And I've even seen where you can, if you wanted to, make a little bit of a V in the middle here, so that it could display more stuff on the inside. You could decorate up the inside and have maybe flowers or balloons or something popping out of the outside, and a little V would give it just a little bit of a peek into there. Or you could completely even do away with these 2 panels and decorate the 2 back ones, and you could even put cross members in there like I do for my card in a box. I mean, the ideas are endless. So many things you could do with it. But we're just doing the simple part today. I'm trying to rein myself in and give you guys just the basics so that you're not afraid of it. So on the inside of my card, I used a plaid. And so these pieces in here are a little bit longer because you're looking from the top. I don't know, they went down 3 inches instead of 2 3/8. You could make them as long or as short as you wanted, but I made them a little bit longer. So those 2 pieces, those longer ones, are going to go in here. And I'm looking at the pattern and making sure that as I cut these, the pattern lines up. because once they go into the card and the card is flattened, we want it to look like they belong together, right? So now I can switch back to the Stampin' Seal. If you wanted to, you could use some liquid glue so you had your wiggle room time. But I'm just going to go ahead and adhere this to the inside. And again, these are the pieces that you could have added to the card before you assembled the box. So once you have, you know, played with it a few times and you understand all the mechanisms and how everything's working, you might want to consider putting this paper on before you put your box together. Just because it might be easier to add the paper while it's flat. Not a big deal. If you didn't do it, like I didn't do it, not a big deal. Again, I'm looking at my papers, seeing how my pattern lines up, and then that's how I'm going to adhere them to the card. So that one's going to go there, this one's going to go here. And the reason I put the tab on this piece here is I wanted the designer series paper to cover it up. And so my tab was right here, and this is covering it up. So there's our pattern paper. And you could do like all of them. This is the new pattern paper in the holiday catalog. We have our little cheat sheet at the back that shows me that Plaid Tidings is on page 57. And it's right here. And what I like about this paper is it can be used year-round, but it's also got some great fall colors, some great Christmas colors, some great spring colors. I mean, that's a plaid you can use all year. Okay, so back to our card. Now I have the little pieces. Now this is a different paper. It's this paper right here called In Good Taste, and this is a huge packet of paper. This one has 24 sheets. Our normal packet designer series paper has 12. This one has 24. So you get double the paper out of this one. And there's lots of great wood and tile tones that I love to use out of this. Since my husband's in construction, those are just very familiar and comfortable to me to use those types. Now again, when I cut it, I cut the two pieces. I cut a 2 3/8, and then I did the 2 3/8 this way so that my pattern's going to continue. So that's going to go that way. Now you'll notice I'm not having issues with my Stampin' Seal. I'll say that and then it'll make a mistake. But what I've been taught is to take the seal, and when you're rolling it, see, what did I tell you? We're going to roll it, and then you're going to kind of break it off somehow, because the deal is that once you roll it, it doesn't break off as easily as the snail did. See it, the little stringy bits? Those need to be broken off. And they not only need to be broken off, they need to be broken off up here, because this is the part that's going to be touching our card when we go to do the rolling. And so it has to be up here in order to stick and get started. That's why if it broke off somewhere back here, that's why you have to roll it with your finger. This is great paper. I use this a lot. Because this is a 12 by 12 paper, my suggestion to you would be to take and cut your 2 3/8 and then set it in here, and then cut 3 of them continuously. So again, your pattern would be lined up. The main color on this is Cajun Craze. It's a great color for fall. So there, now we're decorated on the outside as far as that goes. We're going to work on the sentiment that's going to go in the middle. So like I said, we wanted the two pieces that are going to hold our sentiment together. So there's our two little L brackets. And I want to put one right here. Okay, and so how I'm doing that is I'm flattening the card out, just kind of half of it, and then popping open that cube so that I can get in there and attach that flush to the edge here. Now I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to flatten this one and go here. And I'm going to leave that poking out because that'll help me line it up. Since I want it to go in the same place, I'm going to line it up with the edge just like I did the other one and right over the top. So now when it opens, they're even. And so that's going to be my sentiment, which I have right here, 1 inch by 2 3/4. So I have out of the Gather Together stamp set, I'm using the Wishing You Well. On my sentiment, I can leave it like this and just adhere it all rectangle. I can cut it out with a framelit, or I can come in with our punch. Now this is just an edge punch, and so what it allows me to do is put this in here. I always look from the back and make sure I'm perfectly lined up. And then I'm going to flip this around and do the other side. And so this allows you to make the greeting or your label, whatever it is, have the same matching ends at whatever length that you want. I mean, you can have it really short, you can have it really long. And the way you know how long is I usually take a piece of clear acetate and a set that I've punched off. And then I would put this on the clear acetate and hold this over my sentiment so I knew where to cut it off straight. Does that make sense? That if I laid this over the top, say this was, you know, 3/4 inch, an inch, whatever, because it does do several different sizes. It goes from 1/2 inch, 3/4 to a full inch. But you would just have this be clear, and then you could set it over and it would tell you cut right here in order to make the thing where you want it. Am I making sense? Okay. I'll try to put that in the post. I have the acetate already cut out with the ends on it, and I've shown it in another video, and I know it's like right at my fingertips because I use it. It's right around here somewhere. Because I'm on camera, I'm not going to find it. That's the way that goes. Okay, so back to our card. I'm going to take these 2 little tabs, and this time I think I'm going to do the liquid because I want some time to be able to set this in here and make sure that I'm straight. So I can look from the back, make sure that it looks like I've got the same distance, and then it just has to dry. And it dries rather quickly. Now it just needs a little bit of decoration. And I thought, okay, well, I've got out my Gather Together stamp set, and it has pumpkins, and I stamped the pumpkins onto pumpkin pie cardstock and pumpkin pie ink. If anybody ever wanted to, I have Zoom and we can talk one-on-one and I can help you through it. Like I said, that's part of my job. But I went ahead and pulled out another die cut set because I have my pumpkins, I die cut some leaves, I used all of my different brushed metallics and some foils. I, you know, just kind of got a varying of foils. And then I thought it needed a little bit of sprig, you know, like this, only we don't have a die cut for it. So I just kind of flipped through my other die cuts and came across my golfing set. I went, hey, you know what? I bet these, if they were cut out in crumb cake, would make perfect little sprigs. And what do you know? They do. So we're going to have those pop out from behind our leaves and pumpkins. How cute is that, right? And then this little patch of grass is what I used to separate the pumpkins so that you could tell them apart. Always take a look at your dies and your punches and things that you have already and think, you know, how can I use them for something else? Because there's always something else we can use them for. It's amazing. Just look at Pinterest. Some smart person out there has shown lots and lots of ideas to use with all of our stuff. But I'm going to start building together a couple little things to set on the side. And I think I'm going to start with the big pumpkin, and then I'm going to put the grass in there and then set up a little pumpkin. So that's going to be the front. And I'm going to stick that together just with a few glue dots. And so I'm just going to put that on there, lift off the glue dot, and adhere that one. Then I'm going to take the next one, and I'm going to adhere that over the top. Now I'm leaving them kind of flush to the ground because I want it to set flush. And that's going to be my base. Then I wanted some leaves to pop out from behind it. So I just took one of each color. Again, I just cut them all out randomly. I know I cut more than I need, but you can always use metallic leaves for something, right? Just means I'll need to make more cards. Shucks. Okay, so there's the next one, and then let's go with this one. Okay, and like I said, you know, that looks great, and it still would look cute, but I wanted a little something extra, and so that's when these things popped in. So they're just going to give a little bit of extra from behind. And there's my little set of pumpkins. And I want it to go here. I mean, it could go here, could go here, could even go down here. But when they're flat, I don't know, it didn't give the 3D dimension that I thought it would. Since it is such a 3D card, I wanted it to pop a little more. So I took a 3/4 inch by 3 1/4 inch piece of paper and then scored it every inch to make a triangle. And so I want this to hold together by this little 1/4 inch. And that's what's going to hold that there. This will allow it to pop up. Now I'm going to leave this one standing up, so it's okay that it's not really going to flatten out. If you want it to flatten out for mailing, then just use the L brackets. That's going to be a whole lot simpler, because that will fold up totally flat. This one won't, but I'm going to have it sit on my counter for everybody to see, so I'm okay with them not folding up, because that triangle idea is going to give me just that much more stability. It's not going to get floppy. And then we can just do the same thing for the other side. And I just like how the greenery gives a definition to where one pumpkin starts and the other one ends. You know, we could even have a few leaves pop out from behind here. You know, feel free to decorate it up. I mean, you know, you can make it as elaborate or as non-elaborate as you want to. Then my final thing is that I have two pieces that are 2 3/8 by 5. Yeah, and remember when texting used to cost like 10 cents a text? Oh my gosh, the kids would just die. Okay. I can't imagine my daughter putting up with 10 cents a text. Oh my goodness. She'd be broke, even with her high-paying job. Okay, so I'm just going to bring in a couple of my little stamps. I have what would have been, you know, an outside sentiment, an inside sentiment. Since I had two things to play with, I just made it a little more elaborate. Yeah, you could even, you know, put some of these on there. I usually put like balloons and things on my birthday cards, and have them overlap like that, and then you can just cut off from the back side and make them flush. Or I can come in with some crumb cake. Again, this was Cajun Craze I used for those pumpkins. I'm putting it back in my Stampin' storage holder behind me. I love my Stampin' storage. Keeps me so much more organized and everything neat and in its place. Oh, that's going to be in crumb cake. Okay. That's okay, right? We can have it in crumb cake. Oh, sounds like my husband's home. That might not be a good sign. Okay, so now the only thing we have to do now is adhere it to the back. His boss at work has been breaking like $30,000 machines. They've been having to call in mechanics and get them repaired, and so it's given him a couple extra days off. So if any of you are looking to get some things laser engraved, he's got time to do it. Start thinking about what you're doing for your team for Christmas, because it's going to show up before we know it. I know I've told you guys before, he can do the custom blocks. He's done my bone folders, he's done tumblers, he's done wood pieces. I mean, he even cut out some rubber stamps. Just, it's amazing. I love this machine. Okay, back to what I was doing. And there we go. There's the whole card. So it's all ready for me to set up and display. So I hope you guys follow along. Like I said, there's always the replay. If you want to cut out our little chit chat as we're talking here and just having fun, you can catch it on YouTube. And then if you'd like to just get together and chat, I do a Thursday morning coffee and cards where I don't necessarily come in with a planned project. We just kind of get onto Zoom and think, you know, let's just play together. We're all stuck in the house anyway. Let's not stamp alone, let's stamp together. So join me on Thursday mornings just for a Stampin' get together where we can all chat and feel not so alone. Again, thank you for joining me. I'm going to go ahead and close this down, and then I'm going to put a list of the supplies that I used and the links to go purchase them at the top of this video in the little description section after it's been posted. I can go back and do that. So all of my Facebook lives, usually at the end, if I remember, they get a list of all the supplies that are used, and it's also on the YouTube videos, and then I put it in my blog post. It's out there, and I appreciate it when you guys buy those things from me. So again, thank you for joining me, and I will see you either Thursday morning or next Monday for another Facebook Live. Thanks for joining me. Bye.